Thank you for joining us here. In this session, we are going to talk about security and governance in Agent 365. My name is Irina. I'm a general manager in Microsoft Security, overseeing our strategy and Microsoft Enter portfolio. And joining me today will be Shilpa, who is in charge of building Purview for AI, and Kim, who looks after Defender. I bet the most frequent word that you've been hearing yesterday and today is frontier. And the most frequent second word is, let me guess, probably agents. And you know, I'm a futurist, and at some point of my career, I even built the first generation chatbot for Microsoft Store, and even that first generation was so helpful in scaling our digital associates. So as a futurist, I'm so energized by the vision of the agentic future. But I realized that I've been in security for too long. Because with every new announcement, my first thought was, well, how are we going to get a handle of all of those agents? What are all of the risks that we don't fully understand yet? It almost feels like we're about to let a bunch of high-energy summer interns to have a vibe coding party in our server room, and then it's us, the security adults, who are going to have to figure out, well, what just happened there, and what do we do with the consequences? And so we don't want anyone in this room to ever feel this way. And that's why we've been working so hard to introduce Microsoft Agent 365, the control plane for agents. And that's why security and governance are so core to the Agent 365 value. Agents are becoming ubiquitous. Based on our Work Trends Index report, we see that 82% of leaders are planning to use agents, 75% of employees are already using AI tools, and scary thought for us in security, 78% of them are bringing their own AI. And that 1.3 billion number, I'm sure you've seen it before, that's how many agents IDC predicts to be deployed by 2028. And I'm sure all of you already have to deal with those new AI threats. And can you imagine just 3 years ago, we had no idea about prompt injections, model poisoning, or having your data suddenly show up in ChatGPT responses. Well, now with agents, we're going to have to think about new two types of protections. On one hand, protections for agents are going to look somewhat similar to what we do for users. And on the other hand, agents are unique, and therefore they will need their own purpose-built protections. So let's look deeper into what are the surface areas we will need to protect. Right? Like first, it's user-to-agent interaction, making sure we're protecting prompts and responses, making sure we govern which people can access what agents, and also that users don't compromise agents. Next, agent-to-agent interaction, making sure that we set guardrails which agents can connect to each other, and how do we protect all of those A-to-A connections and prevent agents from oversharing data? Next, an agent interaction with LLM models. We need to make sure agents don't become vehicle for model poisoning. And then with all the different ways in which agents connect with data, whether it's more like an application pattern where we need to protect A-to-A connections and tool connections, or like users, we need to make sure that we have both threat protection, data security, and access control in place. And this is why Agent 365 includes everything you need to manage agents across your digital estate. It has 5 capabilities, starting with registry, which gives you the full inventory of your agent fleet. Next, access control, so you can manage agent permissions and protect access to resources. Next, visualization, so you can map relationship between agents and people and data and monitor their behavior and performance in real time. Next, it's interop to make sure that you can connect them to the apps and Work IQ so that agents can participate in human-agent workflows and understand context of work. And finally, security. Agent 365 includes both threat protection to make sure that you can prevent, detect, and respond to threats that target agents, and data security so that you can protect data that agents create and use from oversharing, leaks, or risky behavior. And what's important is Agent 365 is not just for Microsoft. We build it to work with any agent. In fact, we already have a really broad ecosystem of partners, and it's growing by the day. And all our partners need to do, or all you can do in-house, is integrate with the Agent 365 SDK. And our security products, Entra, Purview, Defender, are a part of that SDK. And what's really cool, it also includes observability based on OpenTelemetry. So our security products are going to get a lot richer. And Agent 365 is also an offer. It includes multiple products, pretty much similar to Microsoft 365 E5. So in security, it includes Defender, our threat protection solution, Entra, our identity and secure access solution, and Purview, our data security and compliance solution. And in productivity, it includes all Microsoft 365 apps, WorkIQ, Power Apps, Power BI, and full management in Microsoft 365 Admin Center. In our session, we're going to focus on security so that we can show you how Agent 365 extends familiar concepts and introduces purpose-built defenses for agents. And we're going to start with Entra, because identity is the bedrock of security and Agent 365. So identity professionals are people on the front lines of managing users and groups, managing permissions, protecting access to resources, protecting users from malicious web traffic. So now all those things you will be able to do for agents. In this agentic world, your job will expand to managing agent identities and lifecycle, defining policies who can create and manage agents, governing agents' permissions, protecting agent access to resources, and protecting them from internet threats. And this is just a quick recap of the things we announced in Microsoft Entra Agent ID. So with Agent ID and registry, you will be able to discover and manage all of your agents. With lifecycle workflows and access governance, you can manage agents' permissions and lifecycle. And with conditional access, identity protection, and traffic filtering, you can protect agent access to resources. And before we jump into the demo, let me touch on a couple of the new concepts. So firstly, the identity itself. Why a distinct identity? Why didn't we just take app or user identity? Well, that's because agents are not quite one or the other. In the way that they access resources, they can follow both an application pattern, where they connect through APIs or A2A protocols or MCP servers, or a user pattern. So our identity model needs to bridge both. Next, agent blueprint. So because most applications have multiple agents, our own security copilot already has 12, and it keeps growing. And then different users create multiple instances of those agents. Each instance needs their own identity. But managing each individual instance at scale is going to get daunting. So agent blueprints are like templates that essentially manage those agent identities in scale. They have predefined parameters like OAuth, users and groups that can use those agents, and they can issue tokens to the agents. And finally, Entra registry. I think you've heard that before. Registry serves three purposes. First, it's the visibility into your entire agent fleet. Then it's agent-to-agent discoverability. And third, it's ability to control which agents can be discovered and which agents should be quarantined. For now, it has agents with ID and agents you register yourself. And soon it will also have all shadow agents that will help you discover. And architecturally, it's a source of truth of agent inventory in Agent 365, Defender, Purview, and Foundry. So now with those concepts out of the way, let's jump into a demo. And I'm going to start in, I am going to start in Agent ID Overview and enter Admin Center. So here, identity admins can see all agents in their tenant, how many are recently created. This agent blueprint view shows you how many agent types you have in your organization. And then if we go into the agent identity, we can see all of them, those that are active and disabled. And we can look deeper into one of those identities. So let's look at this Finance Optimizer agent. Here you can see what the agent does, when it was created, who its owners and sponsors are, what policies protect the agent. And here I can see it's a part of the Finance Optimizer blueprint. So let's see how many of those agents we already have in our organization. And as you can see, There's been already 8 instances created by different people in finance team. Each of those agents have their own individual identity, but they all follow the same core identity schema. So next, let's look at how you can govern agent identities. And the first thing I want to do is to make sure that each agent in my organization has a sponsor. And the human sponsor is the person responsible for agent oversight. It essentially decides that if the agent is still needed and what permissions the agent needs to do its job. But what happens when those sponsors, let's say, leave or change roles? We don't want those agents to disappear into the void. And that's where join, move, leave workflows come into play. So I have one of our employees, Alice, who asked me to reassign her agents to her manager because she is leaving into a new team. But instead of doing it for Alice, let me automate all sponsor changes for all agents in my organization. So in lifecycle workflows in ID governance, I'm going to choose to create new workflow. I'll pick one of my mover templates, and let's name it to make sure we remember what it does. And in the tasks, 3 of those are not relevant, so I'll remove it. So we're going to send the email to notify manager about employee role change, and then we're going to add one more. We're going to send email to a manager about sponsorship changes. So now my workflow is complete. And if I go to the workflows, I can already find it. And now to make sure it's working, I'm going to run it on demand. And because Alice was the one who asked me to change her sponsorship of the agents, I am going to run it for Alice. Okay, we're going to run the workflow. Let's refresh. Hopefully, yep, now it's ready. And let's see what the experience looks like for Alice's manager. It turns out I am now Alice's manager, so I just got notified that Alice is moving roles, and therefore I am now responsible for the agents that were reporting to Alice. I can decide whether to keep the sponsorship or reassign it to someone else, and then identity admins can be confident that all agents remain under human oversight. So next, let's look into how we can protect agent access to resources. And we're going to start with our all-time favorite, conditional access. So let's set up the risk-based conditional access policy for all of our agents. Here in the conditional access blade, I'm going to create new policy, and I'm going to give it a name, block agents at risk. So I'm going to choose who this policy is protecting. So I'm going to choose all agent identities in resources. I'm going to choose all resources. And in conditions, I'm going to choose agents that show high risk of compromise. This means that we're seeing that those agents may be signing in from unfamiliar property, so there's a spike in sign-ins. So for those agents in access control, I'll choose to block all access. And when I create a policy, I can be sure that any agent that shows high risk of being compromised won't be able to access resources in my organization, which will hopefully save some time to my friend Kim. And then in my last demo, I'm also going to show you how you can do granular access control for unsanctioned, for MCP servers. And so in our organization, we already set up the policy that blocks all unsanctioned MCP servers because they can be a threat. So we've done it with 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗃, but now our finance team just created a new agent. And this agent is going to look after their crypto news and financial news, but in order to do that, they need access to a new MCP server. They did validate it with our security team. The server is OK, but it's not on the allow list yet. So for that demo, let's first move to the Copilot Studio, where they built this new agent. And we're going to ask this agent to list new coins. And as you see now, because the server is not on the allow list yet, this request is blocked. So now we're going to go back to the Enter Admin Center. And here you can see, oops, sorry. Wrong one. First, I'm going to show you the block policy. So here in rules, you can see that any server that's not sanctioned is currently blocked. Right? So then let's go back and add this server to the allow list. Here you can see we have added this CoinDesk MCP server. So now I'm going to choose to allow. And once it's deployed, we're going to ask this finance news agent to list new coins again. And because we have added it to the allow list, now the agent returns the list of new coins. And I can be sure as an admin that all unsanctioned MCP servers are still blocked. And every time an agent interacts with the MCP server, again, we're going to get the network log, which is going to make the life of both Kim and Shilpa a lot easier. So with that, let me do a very quick recap. So in the demo, we just saw some of the key concepts in what we can do with agent identity. So we looked at the agent identities and blueprints, lifecycle workflows for agent sponsors, risk-based conditional access for agents, and MCP server access filtering for agents. And next, I'd love to invite Shilpa to show you how Purview can protect agents and data.
Thank you, Irina. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Shilpa. Before we talk about data security for agents, humor me a little bit. Get out your phones, unlock it, and then just hand it over to the person next to you and have them poke around a little bit. Uncomfortable? Good, you're in the right spot. This is exactly the feeling that goes through all your data security personnel's heads when you can almost imagine your organizational data is like your unlocked phones, and as Irina was mentioning, these high adrenaline teenagers, agents accessing all of this. So a day in a life of a data security and compliance person is hectic. You already know that. You're investigating data security incidents, you're reclassifying stuff, policies all over, and now you also have to deal with safe access of AI. Of course, agents are transforming the entire workforce, but they're also introducing these new interaction patterns, be it agent to human, agent to agent, agent to LLM, all of these. And each of these need to get protected now, in addition to all of the other things that you were doing. And so your data protections also need to expand to adopt all of these interactions and workflows. And that's exactly what we're doing with Purview, expanding your familiar, known policy control plane, going into all of these for agents as well. We start with agent observability. This is to give you full visibility of what's going on, deep interaction visibility available to you. Familiar insider risk program, now pivoted for agents so that you can understand anomalous behaviors and risky situations with these agents. And then you can protect what matters most. Your information protection, your data loss prevention, all expand to ensuring you have the right access controls for these agent interactions. And last but not least, always stay compliant. Retention, e-discovery, communication compliance, and auditing, all of it expanding to help you with your agentic workflows. With that, let's jump into a demo. All right, my computer is asleep. Give me a second here. Awesome. All right, so we'll start with the end user demo. This is your users or agents interacting with sensitive data. Meet Dean. Dean is part of 𝗲𝗲 procurement team. It's late, and Dean has a whole bunch of procurements due today that he's working on. And of course, he's going to need help. So he calls in the 𝗲𝗲 procurement agent for help to summarize and ensure that they can review all of these things. The 𝗲𝗲 procurement agent jumps in like a pro. It accesses all of this information and tries to summarize. When it hits the first file here, which is marked highly confidential, it stops. It cannot access it. But then it goes on happily accessing and summarizing the rest. This is Purview in action, enforcing least privilege access. Think of it like your bowling alley bumper rails that keeps your balls in the lane. Purview is doing exactly that, making sure that even if things are going off track, things are back. Now, Dean asks the agent to go ahead and send off an email to the client. And of course, the agent tries to do that. Right here, you can see Purview has spotted some sensitive information in the email. And before the email was sent out of the organization, leaking sensitive information, Purview has blocked it. Exactly those bumper rails, again, in action, ensuring that things are always in the lane. So no late night panic moments. Everything is on track. No gutter balls here. Now let's see what happens when Dean tries to do something a little sketchy. Here, Dean's going to ask for help from the agent to see if the agent can craft an email that allows them to win a deal or so. The agent immediately recognizes that this crosses the ethical and compliance rules of the organization and will not do that. Purview also flags this interaction, just like the bowling monitor flagging a foul, exactly in the same way. So sensitive information or ethical boundaries. Purview bumper rails are there to make sure everything stays in the lane. Now, let's just switch gears a little bit and then look at it from the perspective of a data security admin. Here, I'm in Purview Data Security, Data Security Posture Management, and in AI Observability, I get a full list of all the agents in my organization, what sensitive data they're accessing, and how they're using it. This includes Microsoft and non-Microsoft agents. So here you can see the 𝗲𝗲 procurement agent is the first on the list. It's been flagged as high risk because all of the activities that you saw happening there, we can double click and look at it right here. So here, as you can imagine, the entire sequence of events is captured for you every step of the way so that you can understand why it was flagged for high risk. And then taking a step back, if you want to look at all of the activities that the 𝗲𝗲 procurement agent has performed, you can see it's a well-behaved agent, it's been fine, and it's only these activities that are coming up. And right on the top is the DLP rule match that we just saw. And of course, here you can double click and get a complete detailed view of what all was happening so that you can take the right actions. It's almost like being in Minority Report, where you can see the pre-crimes, you can prevent all the things from, bad things from happening before it happens. All right, so next up in communication compliance, That unethical interaction that we spoke about, again, flagged here by Purview. And I don't have to look at all of the things that come up. Purview flags for me what's important and what's incorrect, and then I can take the right actions right from here. So all of the details available to me for my investigation. From the perspective of your legal teams, everything is captured and preserved here completely. That unethical interaction or that sensitive data access, all of it recorded, preserved for you, so you have the right transparency, you have the right defensibility. And then when it comes to Purview Audit, all of these new interaction patterns, be it your agent to agent, what's it doing, all of those are captured. So when your regulators come knocking on your door, asking you who did what, how all of these happen, all of that is recorded, and you can provide proof of compliance very easily. And with that, I will then hand off to all right. Welcome, Kim. Take it away. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shilpa. Can I just get a show of hands to show who works in the SOC in this room? All right, not as many as I expected, but maybe like 10 hands. So as much as I love my friends and colleagues in the identity and data and compliance team, the reality is also that no matter how vigilant we are in our preventative measures, at least all of you who just raised your hand know that breaches are going to happen, because adversaries will find even the smallest gap in your protections to gain a foothold. And what we see is that in as little as 3 minutes, they will start moving laterally through your organization. And so we need to make sure that we extend all of the critical tools and processes that we have available to security analysts today to detect and protect against threats, that we extend those to agent-based attacks. But the attack techniques and the attack surface for agents is fundamentally different. Agents have a memory, they can access tools autonomously and without any human oversight, and even other agents can provide input into them. So while the jobs to be done for the SOC teams look very familiar, threat protection solutions actually need to evolve to understand how agents work, and then combat novel attacks like prompt injection that we're now seeing in the landscape. And that's where Microsoft Defender comes in. This week, we've announced a set of new capabilities to help you protect agents across Copilot, across Azure Foundry, and even non-Microsoft agents through the Agent 365 SDK that extend all of the experiences that in Microsoft Defender that you know and love to agent-based attacks, essentially. And so just to kind of walk you through what that capability set looks like, when we look at the prevention of threats, we provide runtime protection. That essentially means that we block the attempt straight up. So we just protect. In security posture management, we provide security recommendations of how you can harden your agents to make it less likely that an attack can be successful. And then finally, we're going to provide we now provide a view that shows a potential attack path that can originate or lead to the agent throughout your organization. When it comes to detecting threats, of course, we have numerous out-of-the-box detections that are based on our research insights and Microsoft's leading threat intelligence. But we're also going to give all of you the ability to create custom detections so that you can decide what certain behavioral patterns matter to you and then get alerted on them. And then lastly, investigating and responding to threats that you see, we created a brand new agent inventory in the Defender portal, which just allows you to have a complete end-to-end view of all of the agents that exist in your environment. All relevant alerts and information when they relate to an incident are included in the alert queue, as well as the incident investigation experience that you're already familiar with. And then all agent telemetry will now be available in the advanced hunting experience as well. And then finally, Irina said earlier that we are enabling non-Microsoft platforms to leverage all of the Microsoft security capabilities through the Agent 365 SDK. And that's critical because we know that companies and developers want to build on a multitude of AI models and AI platforms, and we want to enable them to protect those as well. And so for Defender today, we're announcing built-in detections as well as the ability to threat hunt across all of the agent data for both Kasisto and GenSpark. And then over the coming months, we're going to expand that to more of our SDK partners. And so with that, I'm going to jump into the demo, and I'm going to walk you through an incident that includes an agent, and then we'll also take a look at security posture management in the Defender portal. OK, so here I'm already starting off in the incident queue in the Defender portal. And let me actually make it a little bit bigger so that you can actually. Can you now? Perfect. All right. So here at the top of my incident queue, I have an incident, a collection incident. And I can see right here that there's 2 alerts associated with it. Now, the priority isn't super high, but because it's a collection incident, I know that an agent is involved. So I'm going to take a closer look at that. We'll come back to Copilot, but here in the attack story on the left-hand side, I can see one alert that told me that there was an agent tool invocation that was blocked by Microsoft Defender. So somebody tried to access tools or information through the relevant agent. The good news is Defender blocked it, so nothing happened. The second alert, however, is an alert that a persistent jailbreak attempt happened using this particular agent. Now, that's obviously a higher fidelity alert. Again, the good news is everything was blocked by Defender previously, but there's persistence there. So the same agent was likely part of multiple attempts to gather information, get to different tools, and just perform unauthorized activity at the end of the day. And so just taking a closer look at the particular alert here, if you follow me on the right-hand side, I can see the MITRE attack techniques that are linked to this specific alert. I have in the evidence, I can see exactly some IP addresses that were involved, as well as the specific agent. An alert description that just gives me more information here for me to analyze. So going back to the incident details, and I should have mentioned this earlier, this specifically is a Copilot Studio-based agent. And I want to take a closer look at this agent, because I don't actually know what that agent is. And so I'm going to, from the attack story graph, going to pick this agent, the Java customer support helper, just to understand a little bit better what it is. So here's a description of what it does. Down here, I get information about its ID and how it's linked to the Entra ID, name, as well as the creator and owner, which can be different. In this case, they're still the same, so that I can understand it. And further down here, I can actually see that this agent doesn't just have this incident linked to it, but actually has 7 open incidents linked to it. Now, luckily, everything was blocked. So again, we saw earlier that the risk score of the incident was only 56, because it was essentially blocked by Defender. But I probably need to reach out to the owner of the agent to tell them to improve the posture of the agent a little bit by improving the prompts that are available through it and including various information on the operations. And that's actually really easily done with Copilot right in the Defender portal. So when I open the pane, hopefully some of you have already seen this. So there's various suggestions, obviously, of how I can now triage, and here right at the top, I can, right from Defender, draft a message, reach out to the user, reach out to the creator, and just kind of stay in my portal the entire time, but still perform all of the tasks that I need to. For the purpose of this, we're going to stay in the Defender portal, and that was a quick view into the investigation experience. And now I'm actually going to open the menu and move into the asset section. And here we've added a brand new asset inventory for AI agents that I mentioned earlier. That's hopefully going to load. There we go. Perfect. So we just saw an incident that included a Copilot Studio agent. So I actually want to take a closer look at all of the Azure AI Foundry agents that I included here. And so here I have the 𝗲𝗲 assist agent. When I open that, I get the same pane as earlier, but let's take a little bit of a deeper look at the 𝗲𝗲 assist and actually go into the agent page. So here I have some basic agent information, similar as what I did earlier, but also some additional info like the deployment method, attack path that are already associated with it, and then some risk factors if they exist. And here looks like it's grounded with sensitive data, which is super interesting. But let's start with the security recommendations. And this is really where some of the power of Microsoft Defender comes in, because it actually tells you what can I do right now to harden this agent in my environment. And so I have two specific recommendations in here. And if I open the recommendation pane, hopefully if you're familiar with how recommendations work in the portal, I get a natural language description of exactly what it is here. And here, Defender has identified that detailed instructions on how a connected agent should be invoked are missing when defining the connection between agents. And so the recommendation is provide those clear instructions, define the boundaries more specifically so that we can kind of protect how this agent interacts across the environment. And then it makes it super easy for me. Remediation steps tells me exactly what I need to do. This is still based in Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which is why it's asking me to manage it in the Azure portal. But it makes it super easy for me not to only know what I should be doing, but also how I can do that. And then the last piece I want to quickly show you are the attack path. So attack path, we talked about it earlier, is essentially how can a vulnerability either originating from my agent or leading to my agent happen in my organization. And so the amazing thing here is that I'm going to zoom into it quickly, shows me exactly here on the graph how the various components are connected through the graph that eventually then lead to the 𝗲𝗲 assist agent that we just looked at. But a lot easier for me to understand. I have internet exposure, I have vulnerabilities, and I have lateral movement that can happen here. And here it's exactly explained to me what in theory could happen, right? Attack paths are about the potential of an attacker getting a foothold into any of these assets and then being able to move across all of them. And so the attacker could exploit vulnerabilities via the internet and gain control on the specific container and then move across this map from there. MITRE attack techniques that they would use. And so I get a really good view of what could happen, and then you better go back to the security recommendations and actually go and harden them. And so that's kind of a little bit of an overview of how do I investigate things that have happened, but also how do I take proactive action. Right from Defender, work with the creators, work with the owners, all from the SOC analyst perspective. And so if you take two things away from it, it's basically, Microsoft Defender has abilities to protect right at the attempt, but then also kind of guides you through the entire SOC process. So all of the abilities that you had for devices, for identities before, now exist for agents, and so hopefully that will help you protect your company across them. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Irina.
Thanks so much, Kim. All right, well, this was a really quick overview of the things that you get with Agent 365 across Entra, Defender, and Purview, and how you can really keep your agents safe as you are adopting agents, and hopefully you're doing that at scale. But agents are not the only AI that keeps security leaders up at night. And therefore, to help you even to have more comprehensive view of how AI is being deployed and used in your organization, we have also developed this security dashboard for AI that provides a unified view into all of your AI risk, posture, and signals across AI platforms, apps, and agents. And the cool thing is that this dashboard is free for Microsoft Security customers. So this view shows you just some of the things that you will be able to see in this dashboard. And then bringing this all together, Agent 365, security capabilities for AI apps and infrastructure, and our unified security dashboard, we're delivering the most comprehensive protection for your entire AI stack. And we really hope that Agent 365 the control plane for agents, will help you adopt agents at scale. And the best way to get started with Agent 365 is to join our Frontier program. So if you want, you can follow this QR code, and then that will help you enroll into the Frontier program and then explore our other sessions. I think we have a couple more this afternoon, and if you've missed sessions yesterday, do watch them on demand. With that, thank you so much for joining us, and have an amazing rest of your Ignite.